So could you talk about the movie reference in this film?
Sure, the movies that influenced it?
Yeah.
I mean, there are many. I mean, one of the things that Mark and I did at the beginning when we were sitting down to write is we talked a lot about Caesar's character, where we wanted to take the movie, but we also watched a lot of movies, and obviously all of the Planet of the Apes films, which we didn't have a chance to watch previously, since I haven't watched them since I was a kid, really. So we watched all of those films, and they influenced the film, of course, in a lot of interesting ways. But the other things that really influenced the movie, like a lot of war movies, like Bridge on the River Kwai, which is another Pierre Boulle story, ironically, that was a really important film because it was something that was a war film, but in the foreground it was the battle of wills between the two characters and the essence of their nature that was the story. And that's really what we wanted to do here. Apocalypse Now, Kurosawa movies, westerns like Sergio Leone, movies like Clint Eastwood movies like The Outlaw Josie Wales, like A Revenge Tale. And the movie goes through those transformations. I mean, even like a really big one for us was The Great Escape. Because the movie goes on this path. You follow Caesar on this journey. He's thrust into a war. It's a full-bore war movie. And then these events happen that send him on a revenge mission, and it becomes like a Western with just the kind of this posse. And they're moving up the river like in Apocalypse Now. They reach Colonel Kurtz, if you want to look at it that way. And then they're imprisoned in a way that becomes very much like The Great Escape. And then, of course, there are giant battle scenes. And then at the end, to take it a step further, it becomes almost like a biblical epic. It becomes... There are elements that are not unlike the Ten Commandments and the parting of the Red Sea. So, you go on quite a journey, and there are a lot of references.
Do you think this movie could help people to see our own defects as a species, as human species?
I'm sorry?
Do you think this movie could help people to see our own flaws?
Oh, yeah. I think that's the point of the movies.
Yes.
I mean, for me, what's so exciting about this franchise is that it's a summer movie, right? Which means that it comes out at the time when all of the big spectacles come out. It's a big budget movie, but it's unique in that the subject and the spectacle of the movies is photoreal apes, and the photoreal apes are really us. It's holding a mirror up to our nature, to our behavior, and I think, for me, what I think cinema's power is to put you in the shoes of a character who you are not, which is really about empathy. It's about extending your sympathies to the rest of the world. And I think, for me, that's the most hope that you can have, is looking into our darkness, looking into our better nature, and recognizing yourself and all of those things.
And do you think that the apocalypse could happen in our real world? Like
Do I think that could happen? Well, certainly, I mean, I don't think it would happen exactly the way it happens in our film, necessarily. But, yeah, we are definitely... We are definitely responsible to some degree for whatever our fate will be, and I certainly hope that we will avoid that kind of cataclysm. But only time will tell. In a way, science fiction is often cautionary, and you hope that it reflects the worst of what could happen. But who knows?
The apes ends up being that beginning of the end, right? Because that phrase is quoted by the colonel around the movie.
Yes.
And I think the apes ends up being that.
The beginning and the end. Well, it's interesting. That Alpha
That's
Omega, that Alpha Omega iconography actually, for us, was inspired by, that was iconography in Beneath the Planet of the Apes. The human mutants who are left, they're praying to the nuclear weapon, and that whole idea somehow stuck with us. This idea of a group of soldiers who felt it was their mission to be both the beginning and the end of the human race. If they lost, then the human race would perish, and so that almost took on, and it's interesting because that the Alpha Omega obviously connects to Christianity as well, and there was a kind of religiousness with which they came into this battle, and this idea of their fate, and so all of that is entwined in a very complicated way, and yeah, I guess if you look at it, to me the whole idea was that in the end the great equalizer is nature. The planet was once ruled by giant dinosaurs, and it only took a single comet to wipe them out. And the idea that these two species would be pitted against each other, but really it was nature in the end that would determine the fate of both of them, That's an aspect of the film too, in the beginning and the end.